You ever open your mailbox, see a letter, and just know right there in the freezing driveway, snow halfway up your boots, that the universe is about to screw with you? That was me. Owen. Carter staring at a certified envelope from the Pine Rest Mountain HOA. Let me tell you nothing. Ruins a peaceful mountain life faster than HOA drama, especially when you didn't even know you had an HOA. I'd spent the last 3 years and all my savings from selling a tech startup in Denver building a cabin outside Estes Park, Colorado. 5 acres of pine and rock and wind, place so quiet you could hear your own thoughts echo off the mountains. I'd built this place for freedom. And now, well, apparently I was a criminal. For Icicles. No joke. This letter was dated January 15th, and as I ripped it open, snow crunching beneath me, my blood pressure started a vertical climb. Dear Mr. Carter, it read, you are hereby fined $500 for excessive icicles on your roof in violation of Section 12.7 of the Community Bylaws. Section what? Community what, signed by 1, Brenda Morrison, President of the HOA. Neat and orderly appearance, free from hazards. Icicles, folks. In the Rockies. In January. I must have read it 3 times standing there in the cold waiting for the punchline. But there was none. The old owner never mentioned an HOA, and believe me, I'd made damn sure no associations, no rules, no one telling me what to do with my roof, my truck, or the color of my socks. That night, I pulled every property document out onto the table, going over clauses, addenda, the whole 9 yards. Nothing about an HOA, not a whisper. Next morning, I drove the hour and a half to the Boulder County Clerk's office. Now Susan at the front desk. She's one of those salt-of-the-earth people, knows everyone probably remembers what color your truck was last year. She helped me go through all the records for my land. 2 hours later, we both agreed no HOA, no covenants, no restrictions. My property was cleaner than a preacher's conscience. So naturally, I figured it was time to introduce myself to Ms. Brenda Morrison in person. The address on the letter led me a mile down the mountain to a development so pristine it looked like a designer's fever dream. Middle of winter, yet somehow her landscaping was perfect, must have bullied the snow into staying off the lawn. Silver Lexus in the driveway, custom plate, HOA boss. I took a breath and rang the bell. Brenda answered with the look of a woman who hasn't smiled since Clinton was president, 50-something platinum bob makeup applied like war paint. It's 11 a.m. and she's holding a glass of white wine, the kind that probably costs more than my truck payment. Can I help you? Flat, cold eyes that could freeze a rattlesnake. I held up the letter. I'm Owen Carter. Got this from you about Icicles. Her face lit up, not with kindness, but like she'd found a squirrel in her attic. Yes, Mr. Carter. We've been trying to reach you for months about various violations. Since you never responded, we had to escalate to fines. I told her I'd never gotten any notice before, and besides, my property isn't part of her HOA. Pulled out the county records. She sipped her wine, that thin smile never moving. Mr. Carter, any property within the Pinterest Mountain area falls under our jurisdiction. We maintain standards for the community. My land predates your HOA by 2 years, I said. I've got the deed, the survey, there's no legal basis for your fines. She stepped closer, breath a little wine heavy. Our bylaws govern all properties within a 2-mile radius of the development center. That includes you. That's not how property law works. You can't just decide to govern someone's land because it's nearby. She didn't blink. We'll see about that. The fine stands. If you don't pay within 30 days, it doubles. Good day, Mr. Carter. And she shut the door. I stood there for a moment, frozen, but not from the cold. I'd seen power plays in tech, but this was next level. Over the next week, more letters came. My firewood stack was too visible from the road. My F-150 wasn't an approved color. I was instructed to plant 20 ornamental shrubs by April or face additional fines. The grand total, $2,500. Now, I don't like lawyers, but I like getting steamrolled even less. Enter Patricia Reeves, Denver attorney. And as it turns out, patron saint of the HOA, harassed. She took one look at my paperwork, nodded, and said, "This happens more than you'd believe. Some HOAs think they can scare folks into compliance. You've got 3 options. Ignore them and risk legal escalation, send a cease and desist, or file a county complaint." "Why not all 3, I asked. She grinned. I could tell she liked to fight. So cease and desist letter check. Formal harassment complaint check. And I ignored their junk mail unless a real lawsuit landed. For 2 glorious weeks, it was just me, my tools, the fireplace, and the occasional deer nosing at the window. Then came the sound of engines up my driveway. 3 guys in hard hats unloading equipment by the spring. My spring. "What's going on?" I yelled. Foreman squints at his clipboard. "HOA maintenance. Here to install a flow regulator and meter for community water." I stared. "Buddy, this isn't community water. That's my private spring, my land." He looked confused, then shrugged. "Says here, install meter, ensure fair water for all community members. Brenda Morrison authorized." I kept my cool barely. "You're trespassing. Pack up and go. Now." To his credit, he did. Handed me the work order, looking sorry. I called Patricia. She was livid. "That's trespass. Maybe theft. We're getting an injunction." That night, curiosity got the better of me. I followed the creek from my spring down through Pinerest Mountain. Sure enough, the development had piped it into their pretty stone waterways, their landscaping, their fountains. Several homes were tapping water directly from the flow. Next day, I hiked my property with Tom Chen, a surveyor. He checked county records on his tablet, nodded approvingly. "This spring is yours legally as long as you have water rights." And you do. The previous owner filed for them in '97. You can use, divert, or store this water within your permit. "What if I reduce the flow downstream?" I asked. "As long as you're not breaking environmental rules or older rights, you're good." I'd still get a water rights attorney if you want to make big changes. Over the weekend, I buried myself in Colorado water law. Monday morning, Patricia called with news judge signed the injunction. HOA can't set foot on your land or touch your water. But they just filed a lawsuit. Claim you fall under the Mountain Communities Act. Is that even a thing? It's not. They made it up. But you'll still need to defend it. Legal fees start at $5,000. Could run to 20 if they drag it out. I looked out at my land. The mountains silent, and felt a wave of fury. This was my dream. And now it was a courtroom drama because some HOA president wanted to play tin pot dictator. But if they wanted a fight, I could give them a fight. I called Michael Torres, water rights attorney, explained the situation. "You have senior rights," he said. "No one else has filed. The development was built after your claim. They're using your water without permission. If you want, you could cut off their supply. It's legal." He offered to draft a formal notice and a countersuit for the water they'd stolen. Notice sent February 10th. Contractor hired. 3 days of trench work. Later, my spring was now stored for my use, and overflow ran away from their creek entirely. 8 missed calls from Brenda, all ignored. Angry emails from the board forwarded to the lawyers. By Valentine's Day, the creek in Pinerest Mountain was bone dry. Cue the panic. First Brenda, then other residents, then the HOA's attorney called. I answered none of them. Sat on my porch, sipping coffee, watched the sunset, feeling for the first time in months calm. Next morning, the sheriff showed up. Deputy Martinez, who I'd chatted with at the diner, looked uncomfortable. "Owen, the HOA, filed a complaint. Says you cut off water illegally." I invited him in, spread out all the docs, water rights, surveys, the injunction, the HOA's own trespass order. Martinez leafed through the pile, finally shook his head. "This is a civil matter. You're in the clear. I'll note you acted within your rights. Expect them to come asking for a deal." Around noon, a Mercedes pulled up. Gerald Thornton, the HOA's lawyer, and Brenda stormed out. Gerald started in, "You've cut off water to 43 homes. This is unacceptable. According to records, none of you ever filed for water rights. You've been using mine for 5 years without asking." Brenda's voice cracked shrill as ever. "That water is a natural resource. You can't keep it." I held up my papers. "Actually, I can. Colorado law says so. You should have done your homework." Gerald tried to keep it civil. "If you restore water, we'll drop the lawsuit." "Not enough," I said. "I want a public apology, an acknowledgement. My land isn't yours. Reimbursement for legal fees and $50,000 for the stolen water. Plus, don't ever contact me about HOA business again." Brenda turned beet red. "Never." I shrugged. "Then start digging wells. Those run about $100,000 a pop with no guarantee of water." They huddled, whispered, asked for time. I smiled, let them sweat. Then a twist I hadn't seen coming. A homeowner named David Polson called me. "I'm sorry, Mr. Carter. We had no idea what the board was up to. Most of us are furious. Turns out Brenda spent HOA funds on personal expenses, falsified documents about your property, and never secured water rights for the whole neighborhood. We're calling an emergency meeting to kick her out, and we'd like to buy water rights from you fair and square." We met. David, retired engineer, and a few others offered me a 10-year contract at $20,000 per year plus legal fees and a public apology. I asked for a conservation easement to protect the spring forever. They agreed on the spot. That night, a neighbor, Margaret, told me, You don't know what you started. Brenda fined us for everything, banned kids from playing, even threatened to tow my husband's truck. You gave us courage to push back. At the HOA meeting, Brenda tried to hang on residents, yelling about missing money, false fines, and the dried-up creek. In an hour, she and her cronies were out, David was in, and by March, my water deal was signed, the creek flowing again. And karma. Oh, it showed up. Sheriff Martinez called in April. We arrested Brenda Morrison. Fraud, embezzlement, forgery. She stole over 200 grand, faked documents, tried to file a bogus lien against your cabin. Brenda pled guilty, did prison time, and Gerald the lawyer got censured, lost a bunch of clients. But you know what? When Gerald came to apologize, looking like he'd aged 10 years, I gave him coffee and let him talk. Everybody deserves a second chance if they're trying to change. With Brenda gone, the new board turned things around. Community garden, emergency funds, real neighborhood events. David and Margaret hiked up often. We'd sit on my porch, talk about life, watch the sun dip behind the Rockies. David said, "You did more than protect your land. You freed all of us." Funny thing is, this whole ordeal made me realize sometimes the universe picks the weirdest hill for you to die on. I fought for icicles, for crying out loud. But the fight was never really about frozen water. It was about standing up to people who think power gives them the right to bully, to take to control. Later, they named the creek Carter Creek. Put up a plaque. May it serve as a reminder that cooperation and respect for law create stronger communities than control and intimidation. I felt something settle in my chest, peace maybe? Or just the satisfaction of knowing I'd done what was right even when it was hard. And every winter those icicles still form on my roof. I look at them and remember not just the stress, the lawyers, the drama, but the lesson: stand up for yourself. And sometimes you end up standing up for a whole community. So here's my question for you. Where's the line between standing your ground and letting things slide? When does defending what's yours become a duty, not just a right? And when power's abused, is it ever okay to just look the other way? I'd love to hear your stories, times you fought back or maybe times you wish you had. Drop your thoughts below. Let's talk about justice, power, and the real price of letting things go. After all, you never know what ripple your story might send down the creek.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video. Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.